What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway alongside James D. Jackson, Sooners Illustrated and 24/7 Sports at the stadium for the final time this season as Oklahoma closed the year on a 3-game win streak. They put up 69 points on the board against TCU today in the final Big 12 game ever to be played here on Owen Field. The Sooners win at 69-45, finished the season at 10-2. James, before the year, all summer long, we're talking about this team that won 6 games last year, saying that they really should win at least 9. But if you can get to that 10 or maybe even 11 benchmark, that's got to be considered a good year. Well, here we are. The season has come to an end. They won 10 games. They did a lot to like offensively, defensively, not so much. But at the end of the day, 3-game win streak to close the year after that 2-game little skid in the middle. Solid way to finish the regular season here today.
Definitely. I mean, you had a lot of expectations going into the season, as you mentioned.
Right.
And I guess where you're at right now, there's not a lot to complain about with this team. I mean, the expectations grew a little bit during the middle of that season.
Sure,
As you took down Texas, you were looking really, really good, like a top 4 team, and then you had a little skid. But you get back to where you want to be. You take care of business in the last 3 games of the season, and you overcome quarterbacks going out, you overcome your wide receiver going down, you overcome all that, and you get to 10 wins. And, I mean, it's not much you can complain about. And how about this team at home, or just in the state of Oklahoma? In the state of Oklahoma, because you play Tulsa too.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole different offense when they come out in Lloyd Noble or at Tulsa. It's crazy how good they are at home now.
Yeah. No, I mean, Tulsa was basically a home game. It was mainly OU fans. This team, and we're going to talk about the offense first, obviously. They put up 60-plus points again. Obviously, a pick-6 mixed in, but that's still 62 from the offense alone. You think of what they did to West Virginia, what they did to Iowa State, going back, like you said, that Tulsa game, Arkansas State. At home this year, this offense is unstoppable, basically. Dillon Gabriel throws all over the place. They run the ball. They get big plays. Lots of guys contribute. It doesn't look the same when they're on the road. They don't seem as aggressive and things like that. It got them into trouble both in Lawrence and in Stillwater. But today, obviously, James, Jeff Lebby, those 2 games in Lawrence and Stillwater, we talked about it. We talked about it on these raps, our podcast with Tom and Colin. Public enemy number 1 for Oklahoma fans, basically. But the last few weeks, he's figured it out. They have dialed it up. They were unstoppable against West Virginia. They were unstoppable in the first half against BYU before Dillon Gabriel got hurt. They had to kind of figure things out with Jackson Arnold. And they were unstoppable again today. This offense did whatever it wanted. Dillon Gabriel, 400 more yards. Sawchuk, another big day. Drake Stoops, another big day. Offensively, it was pretty close to perfect. I mean, not a whole lot to complain about. In fact, I would say nothing to complain about. Massive day offensively, and Jeff Lebby's finishing this year on a major high note.
Definitely. I mean, the offense was so aggressive today. Just throwing the deep ball on the first play of the game, just going after it and, completing those passes. And they did exactly what a lot of people have been asking for the majority of the season. Go downfield. I mean, test out the middle, do all that. Test it out. Enough of the sideways plays and things like that. And it really showed how good they are. And Jada Gibson talked about it afterwards. He drug a guy 5 yards into the end zone on his touchdown. He was like,
walked in. That was hilarious.
Celebrated before. It was like, I did it on purpose. I wanted to let them know something. But he was like, we had to let Jeff Lebby know that we can be those guys. We're the guys that we were recruited to be. Just got to trust us. And it was on us to kind of come out and really show that. And they got to this point at the end of the year where they finally got on that page and everything like that. So they're really just going out down the field and doing a good job of it. And that showed pretty early here on because, as you said, Dillon Gabriel, 400 yards passing.
What a season.
He's top 10, top 5 maybe, I think now
close.
overall in the national list. So, I mean, he's done a great job, handling all the adversity they had this season, doing everything they need to do. And just now they're looking pretty good. Now it's all up to where the scenario is going to be. It's watching that closely now.
Yeah. No, I mean – It's really unbelievable what Dillon Gabriel has done, this year in the back end. And this week, I mean, we didn't know if he was going to play. I mean, we talked about it on the podcast on Tuesday. It felt unlikely to me that he would play. Obviously, he was evaluated for concussion. Brent Venables confirmed that today. Obviously, he said last week in Provo, upper body injury is what he called it. We all saw his head hit the ground. Today, he did confirm he was evaluated for concussion. They found out yesterday that he was officially going to be good to go, and they tossed him out there. First play, like you said, bombing it deep, 400 yards. Drake Stoops, his final game here, obviously quite the career for him, and he finished on another high note, over 100 yards once again. Offensively, it was a whole lot of good, not a whole lot to be stopped at all. Jackson Arnold got in at the very end of this game, got a nice send-off for both Stoops and Gaylord to come out and do the final curtain call type thing. Really a storybook way to end it offensively. Defensively, it was not great today, obviously. 45 points on the board for the Horned Frogs. Now, TCU's got a good offense. We talked about that coming in. Top 10 passing attack in the country. it was okay in the first half, not awful, but the third quarter, as Brent Venables put it himself, an abomination of football was how he phrased it in postgame. It was quite bad. In TCU, this game felt over, and it all of a sudden wasn't over as TCU cut it to 14. Now, obviously, the offense kept scoring and pushed it back out, but for a while there, James, it was kind of gross defensively. And again, Gentry Williams got banged up, had to leave this game. That plays a big part in it. It's been a weird year defensively because there's been a lot of improvement, a lot of really good things to like, but also some moments that weren't great. We saw what BYU did on the ground last week. There was more of that today. Amani Bailey put up another nice rush total for TCU. What do you kind of make of what you saw defensively today? Because obviously there was a lot of bad, frankly, in this game.
I think you see that first half. I think they were pretty good in the first half. They were pretty solid, as Brent Venables said. Just 16 points, I think is what it was. In that third quarter, which is where Brent Venables said they've been really good all season long, it was not good this time. 22 points in that third quarter they gave up. It was just not good, not filling the assignments they're supposed to. And you talked about Emmanuel Bailey just ran all over the Oklahoma defense. It was just uncanny from what that you've seen early on in the season. It just wasn't clicking at this time around. And I guess Oklahoma wanted to pay a little homage to the Big 12 in their final game and just have a Big 12 score. Just 69-45 is one of those old classic shootout games that you see in the Big 12 over and over again. And I guess maybe that's what it was. I'm not sure entirely, but thankfully that OU were able to pull it out. Defense gave it to get a couple stops there at the end. Billy Bowman Jr. once again getting an interception. He's the most pick sixes in Oklahoma's season. Is that what the stat is?
I think three this year for Billy Bowman, his sixth pick of the year.
Yeah.
And it was a special one too because he broke a bunch of tackles and he's just zigzagging around the field. That's where the return man in him takes over. Obviously, that's a guy who's got a background in returning kicks and punts and things like that. And it was on display. So yeah, not, some good things, some very bad things. And when your head coach gets after and says the third quarter was an abomination of football defensively, that lets you know how things were. But like they've kind of done a lot this year, they made some big plays in the second half to get the job done. And that's where they stand now, 10-2. And now we wait. Like you said, like you kind of alluded to a little bit ago. Obviously, we're sitting here right now. It's almost 5 o'clock Central Time here in Norman. Texas Tech is tonight. Obviously, Oklahoma State plays tomorrow. Kansas State plays tomorrow. Oklahoma still is mathematically alive in the Big 12 race, but we're not going to know if they're going to Arlington until after tomorrow's games are over. But that being said, James, 10-2. Obviously, a couple of conference losses, but they bounced back from it. They didn't let the wheels fall off. They finished the regular season on a 3-game win streak, a 10-win season, a 4-win improvement from last year. How do you kind of just surmise the year and how you look forward? So we may be talking about the Big 12 championship game next week, but even if that's not the case, I have a hard time saying anything other than a massive success here at U2 under Brent Venables. A big leap forward from what they were a year ago.
Yeah, as you said, it's a big leap forward. That's exactly what it is. You look at where they were last year, 6-7, and then to come back in this year and win 10 games, get back to the standard is what Brent Venables called it. Get back to the standard of what OU football is, getting to those double-digit win seasons. That's what they wanted to be at. So it's a massive leap because it's just year 2. You're just getting your guys in. You're just getting all that together. And it's a little letdown from what maybe you saw early in the season. Like, man, this team could have really been up there. But you still had a lot of good things happen this year. A lot of good things to carry over into what, the unknown of the SEC. Now you get, more guys in. How are you going to handle all that situation? You get another quarterback at the helm. And, it's just – there's a lot more to be excited about, but also a lot more to kind of like, all right, where are we going to be at type of situation. So I think that's the point of it now. Well, obviously you still have 2 games left probably to play, but you got to think about
probably, 2 maybe.
2 maybe, yeah. And you get to that point, but I can't say much more about how they handle this last chance in the Big 12.
It says a lot about Venables and the staff that those 2 losses were just gut punch. After the Texas game, we talked about it many times. The thought around here was, oh my gosh, how good can this team be? How far can they go? And that was just in the span of 8 days or 7 days, whatever. It was all gone. It just went away just like that. But they bounced back. They responded. 3 straight wins in the regular season, 2 really good showings at home. And now you finish the regular season at 10-2, and you wait and see. You wait and see how the chips fall. And at the very least, you obviously have a decent bowl game waiting for you, maybe even a New Year's Six. We'll see how other things fall, but obviously we'll reevaluate that in due time. And now you look ahead to next year. You have a lot of key pieces coming back. Obviously, some decisions will have to be made, like from Billy Bowman, like from Danny Stutzman, some other guys certainly in that conversation as well. Certainly seems like Dylan Gabriel is probably probably done, and that's been the assumption all season. The way he talked in postgame, kind of just reflecting on his time at OU, certainly sounded like a guy that was probably knew he played his final game here, especially the way Brent Venables talked about him. He said everything has its time. Cryptic somewhat. Cryptic, yeah. I took it to mean kind of like we all know that even though he has another year, there's no reason to use it. It's kind of how I took it. I would be shocked if Dylan Gabriel was back next year. It's Jackson Arnold's show going into next season. Obviously, we don't know what the offensive coordinator will be like next season. Jeff Lebby, a heavy candidate for the Mississippi State opening. He kind of touched on it a little bit today. Certainly something to monitor in the days coming up. But a lot to like about where this program is right now and obviously moving into next season. Also, Brent Venables is still alive and not injured. He got trampled almost.
Yeah, I heard he almost died early on in the game.
His words, right over there, that tunnel, they run out through smoke.
Yeah.
And Venables leads the charge. He tripped and fell. I'm not sure what tripped him. And, I mean, it's a full team is running after him in smoke, so they can't even see him until he's there. I mean, it's we can laugh about it now, but legitimately, it's very fortunate that he did not get seriously injured because he the way he described it, it's worth watching the postgame just for that. It's right at the end. He just kept getting every time he tried to get up, he just kept getting his face shoved back into the ground because the whole team was behind him. That's actually very fortunate that he's okay, legitimately.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's crazy that it could happen. So some. Like that, he was like he said in his mind, he was thinking about the people at concerts.
Yeah.
When it happens, it's like those tragic moments. It's like he didn't know if he was going to make it because you got to think about the type of guys that are coming out and they have cleats on. I mean,
big dudes too, not like little guys. Yeah,
it's very problematic. So I mean, it's very fortunate that he wasn't seriously hurt and was able to continue his day. I mean, because that could have been a whole different ball game, and that's before the game. I think. Yeah. I mean, that changes a lot of things. Your head coach's not out there.
Yeah, if you got injured or something, no kidding. So, obviously, like I said, we can joke about it now because he's fine, thankfully. But that was a scary moment there for a moment in the pregame run-out. So there you have it. That's it. It's been a great season here at home. Oklahoma undefeated at home for the 59th time, not the first time, for the 59th time in program history, far from the first time. And now, like we said a couple times, they wait. We'll find out what's next. Obviously, tune in Monday, the Sooners Illustrated podcast. James and I, along with Tom Green, will recap it all. Obviously, by then, we'll know if we're headed to Arlington next weekend or if we're looking ahead to whatever bowl will be on deck next for the Sooners. Oklahoma.247sports.com. Tons of great content there for you already. More to come over the weekend. Black Friday special, I think, is still going on at least through the end of today. I want to check on that. Jump on it. 75% off for a year, I believe it is. Phenomenal deal. Check that out. That's a great way to get. If you're a little on the fence, you can get it for close to nothing and be along for the ride with us all through transfer portal season, through basketball season, the spring, and then obviously next football season. It's covered within that year.
Basketball looks really good right now.
Basketball looks very good right now. Just took care of USC. Should be in the rankings on Monday. So a lot to like right now and a good reason to hop on board with us at Sooners Illustrated. That's it for now. Let's get inside. It's cold out here. For James D. Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway, signing out for the final time this season from Owen Field and the stadium in Norman. Sooners Illustrated podcast next up on Monday.